developments involving the status of Lula and the potential of him running for president again in Brazil. Zach, I know you messaged me about this earlier, a little bit excited about it. Do you have any initial thoughts you wanted to let everyone know about?
Well, I mean, I think anything other than Bolsonaro is going to be a step up for the Brazilian people, right? I think that's where we have to say. And also when you think about the time and when you think about the legacy of Lula da Silva, and when you think about the accomplishments that he has already, this would be like, this guy as a figure in Brazil, especially to the Brazilian left, this was like, if we had like FDR somewhere in the fucking basement that could like come out and like be our president again. Like, I mean, obviously he's, a much more recent figure in their political history, but it is like tantamount to that. And that's why he was subject to so much political turmoil, political imprisonment. Obviously, speaking of, Glenn Greenwald did tremendous reporting that was extremely vital. Operation Car Wash reporting, the Brazil Intercept did amazing work. That must be noted in freeing Lula. It looks like now a decision by a Supreme Court justice in Brazil sets the stage for him to be able to essentially once again seek elective office. In this case, obviously, he'll seek the presidency. And that would, we could talk about the foreign policy implications of this for the United States because they will be hostile. But as far as this, obviously I'm not a Brazilian. I'm not a member of the Brazilian working class. They'll decide what they want. I imagine this is a very exciting thing for them, considering his legacy, the work that he's done. Yeah. And I think that he would make a strong, competent, capable challenger to Bolsonaro.
What I've heard actually from people from that region actually is that because of the fact that Lula was in power for longer than your average, 8 years or whatever, he was in power for a term more than that. There were Brazilians who had grown up under Lula and they didn't really understand what made his leadership special, right? It was just the norm to them. So Bolsonaro was able to capitalize on those people as well as some others that were kind of ignorant, honestly, as to the alternative leadership. So he was able to kind of sow some, whatever you want to call it, discontent with Lula's leadership. But then once he is in office and clearly is not replicating the same kind of socialist for the people leadership, people quickly start to realize what they were missing, right? Even if you've grown up your entire life under Lula, all of a sudden there's this new right-wing, fasci president in power, and you're like, oh shit.
Fasci, is that the new trendy term for fascism?
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. But the point is that, now they're like, oh shit, maybe we should re-elect that one guy. And hopefully he soon will have a turn to do that, or an opportunity to do that. Again, this decision by the Supreme Court justice will set the stage for him to run again. I'm really hoping this happens. He's an international leftist icon. It would be great. It would be great. Symbolically too, is what I'm trying to say, for the leftist movement to take out someone like Bolsonaro, committing an unequivocal ecocide in Brazil. Obviously has the largest share of the Amazon rainforest of any South American country. So for one, it would
265,000 COVID deaths in Brazil. That's not something that gets discussed. So over a quarter of a
second only to the United States of America.
Yep. Actually, second India has more. No, you're right. That's actually. No, you're correct.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Yep. So, we are number one always, but, Brazil, pulling up, close behind. And they've had recently, they've had a really, they're having like record number of cases, whereas around the world, it's sort of been dipping down. But like in Brazil, they're really at like the peak. It's still as bad as it's ever been in Brazil. But I do think that this is like, Lula was expected in the last election. If he was allowed to run, it was expected that he would have won if he was allowed to run in the last election. Yeah. So I do think that he has a very, very real, very good chance of winning. And this will be the second sort of time that we've seen in recent history now, in recent history that, in Latin American countries that they've been able to sort of quickly swing back. I'm going to be paying close attention to this one. I think that this is a moment that we should all, reflect on the fact that we are missing a crucial piece on the left in Michael Brooks, who would have, I would have loved to see his insight and see what he would have done pushing for this and helping people, because none of it, like, you can't combine the humor, the knowledge, the compassion of Michael Brooks altogether, in the drive that he has to be able to inform people, to bring people to our side, and to help people to understand. I didn't know who Lula was before Michael Brooks, started talking about him and explained why is he such an important figure, not just in Brazil, but internationally, really, on the left, and why the left movement in Brazil is so important to watch. And I think that Bolivia did it recently. They were able to fight back the U.S. imperialism and the coup that we did there with the U.S. backing and with OAS and coming in and declaring their elections as fraudulent and bumping out I don't know how I'm spacing on the name right now, Evo Morales, and bumped him out. But then they were able to come back in the very next election, and the Socialist Party won back, significantly. And I think that this could be the second time that we're seeing that in Latin America, and it'll be, hats off to them for really showing that it's becoming more and more possible. And I honestly think that this is a sign of a weakening of American empire, honestly. And this shows that U.S. imperialism, Western imperialism is weakening, and the American empire is weakening. Chris Hedges talks about this all the time, that American empire is a failing empire. We're just in the midst of it, and we don't notice it, because when empires are failing, people that are within those empires tend to not realize. When the Roman Empire was failing, they thought everything was going just fine. And
Chris Hedges, man, they were exhausting their military they were exhausting their resources on feudal military action.
Absolutely. So I think that this is kind of showing that we haven't been really effective in Venezuela. What's happening in Venezuela, it's been because of U.S. incompetency. I'm glad, I'm very thankful that we haven't been able to do, look at with Juan Guaido. We were just, you got Biden out here supporting and acting, his Tony Blinken came out saying that the interim president Juan Guaido, and this, but it's not working. Old 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, they'd already had, killed CIA to taken care of that, and they'd had their puppet president in place. But I think that this is kind of showing that, Latin America is finally getting some control over their own, politics, the sort of a weakening of the Monroe Doctrine, and an ability for those countries to operate in a sovereign way. And what we're seeing is that when those people are allowed to operate in a sovereign way, that they are, to the left of where we are, and that they are actually doing the right thing. And I hope for their sake that they're able to quickly swing back out of the, true fascism under Jair Bolsonaro. Everybody, I think is questionable with Trump. You can easily call him a reactionary. You can definitely say he had some fascist tendencies.
Totally.
Jair Bolsonaro, there's no question
100%.
about it. That dude was a straight up fascist.
Yeah, a fascist as well as an eco-fascist too, which I think is an important thing to point out.